What's up, Sooner Nation, and welcome to another edition of the WhackoWeekly Podcast, where we go over all things OU football every Wednesday. I'm Steve Curtis, the voice behind Wacko Sooners, and today we've got plenty to dive into. We've got some more recruiting updates for you. I know, we just had some on Monday, but we have some more for you. We're also going to talk about some key players coming back from injury this week, and of course, as we should be doing right now, Michael Hawkins stepping up as QB1 as we face Kent State this Saturday. We're going to break it all down right here on Wacko Sooners. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Hit that bell button so you never miss an episode. Plus, you can follow us on all of our socials, Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter X, all at Wacko Sooners for live news updates, game time highlights, and of course, a couple memes to keep it lighthearted and fun the way we like it here in Sooner Nation. Make sure you go hit those follows so you're always in the Wacko loop. So, recruiting update. So Monday morning, after our Wacko review came out, we got some great news. I'm actually bummed that this came out right after we put Wacko review out. Would have loved to have covered it when it happened yesterday, but we'd already gotten to it. So we get to talk about it today, which is just fine. More stuff to talk about. We love talking OU football. So Michael McCreary, 4-star cornerback, about 6 foot, 170 pounds, from San Antonio, Texas. First defensive commit of the 2027 cycle, latest blue chip to join the class. He's a Rivals 300 cornerback right now is where he's ranked at. He picked OU over Texas Tech and A&M. Those were the other top choices that he was deciding between. But yeah, looking good. We gained some ground with him over the summer when he came and worked out with Brent Venables and Javonnie at one of the camps that they were hosting in Norman over the summer. Michael came to visit, I think it was the Michigan game. Yeah, Michigan game. And seeing that kind of a dominant defensive performance really kind of sealed it for him. Still took a couple weeks to get him locked down, which is fine. But one thing that really pushed it over the top, well, two things I should say. First of all, the staff. The staff and their consistency, their genuine familial approach to recruiting and trying to reassure recruits and their families, they're not just coming just to play football. We're here to develop your sons and you as young men and, positive members of a football team, positive members of an organization. And it's working. And I believe, Michael said, he said the staff's consistency made OU feel like home. And that's something that we've continued to see Venables and that entire staff continue to do since we hired Brent back in 2022. So it's really rewarding to see that pay off because a lot of people are like, oh, Brent Venables, he's not cut out for it. Well, in this day and age of college football, it's really hard to have sustained success, let alone get to success, first of all. But I like the foundation that we have beneath it. The results will come eventually. I'm convinced. And as we know already, based on what I had to say on the Wacko review on Monday, I love BV. I've been on the BV wagon since the day we hired him. Now, as for the other reason that Michael McCreary really, really wanted to commit to Oklahoma right after that Michigan game, I have very little to say other than he's a true freshman and he wears number 4. Courtland Guillory, true freshman corner, starting at cornerback this year. An absolute dog. So for Michael McCreary, a junior in high school, so 2 years removed from being at the University of Oklahoma and having the opportunity to play, he sees this guy 2 years older than he is, a true freshman who showed up and started balling and earned a starting spot in week 1, or for week 1, I should say. He didn't earn it during week 1. It was already set before the week 1 matchup. So Michael McCreary is looking at this saying, this guy is a true freshman, and he worked his butt off, and he's good enough. That's telling me if I show up and I'm good enough and I give him everything I've got, I have an opportunity to start early and make a good impression to the world and to NFL scouts and all of that jazz. So, Courtland Guillory, recruiting corners for the University of Oklahoma. He hasn't even played through a whole season yet, and he's already doing wonders on the recruiting trail. You'll love to see it. But, yeah, Really excited about that. On tape, McCreary, his versatility, it really pops at you. He's a very natural corner, very quick, very smart about how he plays the game. He could also end up at safety because we've seen that a little bit because Billy Bowman even built a little bit closer to a corner, really quick, really good at it, but we ended up seeing him play safety all the time. All the time. And dude was an absolute ball hawk. He was a stud. He was exactly what he needed. But you could bring him down into the box and blow up a run. You could have Billy Bowman do anything. So with what we know of Michael McCreary right now, I could see that kind of being the approach that we take with him when he arrives. But of course, again, we're still 15 months removed from all of this. So a lot still has to develop. He's a junior in high school, has to finish out this season. Then, of course, he still has his senior season as well. He's not really a headhunter like we've seen out of some of our corners, like Kendall Dolby last year when he was full strength before his injury. And then, of course, his previous year in 2023, headhunter. Loves getting a big hit. Loves it. Michael Boganowski. Dude loves taking heads off. So I don't necessarily think that we'll see a lot of that from Michael when he gets to campus. But he's really good with his basics. If he's going after the ball carrier and he catches you, you are going down. He's not trying to make a big play and cause a turnover, which right now, seeing that in a young guy is great because we are all well aware that OU's defense has yet to create a turnover this year through 4 games, which is disappointing. But when Brent was asked about it in his press conference today, it was just simply, you know what? The turnovers will come. I'm really glad that the guys aren't abandoning the basics and their process of making tackles to try and make something bigger happen. Just do your job. Do your job well enough. Do your job well. Do it to an excellent level. And eventually the stuff that you really want, the turnovers will show up. The turnovers will come eventually. We'll get there at some point. Player comp for Michael McCreary, probably Dante Nicholson. Tough physical safety. Corner hybrid, really, safety corner hybrid. Played with a lot of grit and substance, great versatility. So that's probably the best comp that I can come up with right now. Ranking wise, McCreary's slotted, I think he's at 194 nationally in the 2027 class. He's the 20th corner. So that's nice. Love these high rated recruits. But again, my opinion on high school ratings and recruitment, at the end of the day, the rating doesn't matter. Are you good? Because we've seen with Cam Ward and John Mateer, Cam Ward was a 0-star coming out of high school, if I'm not mistaken, ended up being a Heisman finalist, number 1 overall pick in the 2025 NFL draft, and is now the starting quarterback for the Tennessee Titans. John Mateer, I believe a 3-star coming out of high school, and he is now a leading contender for the Heisman Trophy, starting at one of the more traditional and prestigious programs in the history of college football. So, high school ratings don't really matter, in my humble opinion. Are you good at what you do when you get here? Anyways, I digress on that bit. But getting a defensive commit like this, it'll probably tee up the rest of our 2027 class a little bit better. Because again, young guys seeing players like Courtland Guillory, Michael Fasusi, Torrey Blaylock, these young guys are coming in, they're doing what they need to do, they're going to work, and they're earning starter spots as true freshmen. So that will not only bring in talented young players, because odds of them starting early are pretty high, but it will also encourage further competition among the rest of the roster, and eventually your entire team, it's just going to grind itself into greater excellence. So really looking forward to seeing that. We've got a total of 5 commits now in the 2027 class. We've got Cooper Hackett, Caden Penny, Damari DeJearn, Luke Wilson, and now Michael McCreary. All of them have committed in the last 2 months. I believe Luke Wilson was the first one on, I think it was August 6th, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, it's just really nice to see all of this pay off with the staff and the approach that we've been taking. And I am a firm believer in the Jim Nagy process and the Brent Venables process, but we can get into that another day. Other recruiting news. Brayden Allen, wide receiver out of Lafayette, Louisiana, 3-star, was previously committed to Tulane. And I say previously, dude decommitted from Tulane yesterday. Or no. Yeah, Monday afternoon. So he reopened his recruitment. Colorado and Oklahoma had been pressing hard even before he decommitted from Tulane. I think he just went and visited Deion Sanders in Colorado up in Boulder. Came away impressed, saying that they made him feel like a priority. Now, granted, Oklahoma's been in this mix since the spring. We've been going after him pretty hard. And Allen has so far highlighted his strong relationship with wide receiver coach Emmett Jones. We love Emmett. And also the chance to get on the field early, as we're seeing, all across the roster this year. So, again, that's another point that's going to keep us in contention with all these top recruits. So that's for the 2026 class. I probably could have led with that. Brayden Allen, 2026 recruit. But right now, as for the rest of the 2026 class, Oklahoma sitting at 19 commits. We've got probably 5 to 6 spots left trying to get Brayden Allen in there. We're currently ranked 20th nationally, 10th in the SEC. And this goes back to recruiting players or rating recruits as they come out of high school. I know a lot of people get hung up on the numbers of recruiting, but ultimately, if you have a low-ranked recruiting class, but those guys all end up being ballers, the rating doesn't matter. All that matters is production on the field. I do not care about projections. Projections give me a good indicator of how good you're going to be, but it doesn't tell the whole story. It doesn't, because also we haven't seen a whole other year of growth from these guys. So, again, us being ranked 20th and 10th in the SEC, it doesn't look great on paper, but it ultimately doesn't bother me. It'll start to bother me if we consistently are ranked low and if production is consistently bad. I don't think that's going to be the case. But if it is, that's when I will apologize and be like, okay, fine, rankings and ratings may matter a little bit. Wide receiver is a position that we really want to fill because right now we have 2 commits, 4-star Daniel Odom and 3-star Xavier Okwufulueze. I think I got that right. But Brayden Allen, ideally, we're going to add him to this. In a perfect world, we'll get him in at number 3. 2 other wide receivers in the 2026 class that we are taking a look at. Jaden Petit, we were looking at him earlier in the summer. He's 4-star, committed to Wisconsin. We have reopened communication. We're trying to flip him. We'll see how that goes. And then the big one, Davian Groce, who was supposed to commit to Oklahoma back in early August, right after Luke Wilson, a couple days later. But in the last couple of hours before he announced his commitment, he swapped to Florida. That's probably not looking too good right now with how badly the Gators have been appearing to be down in Gainesville. And I say that with a very dear friend of mine being a Gators fan. And I feel terrible because I also went to high school down there. So, yeah, it's looking rough down in Gainesville. Possible late push depending on how Florida finishes. If Florida looks terrible by the end of the year, I bet you Davian Groce decommits and we go after him and we bring him back. So, right now, we've got 2 wide receiver commits. Definitely pushing for a third. Keeping a potential of 5 in the works. But a lot of that is dependent on everything else that goes on. Allen and Petit are a lot more reliable in terms of flip capacity or capability, maybe. Groce is a big wild card here, and this is all dependent on Florida's season. All right, injuries and returns. So we get two important guys back this week against Kent State. Corner Eli Bowen, about 5'10", 183. Real OU fans know who he is. Little guy, number 23, 2024 freshman All-American, and got that first interception against Jalen Milroe last November, just before Thanksgiving. He jumped the bunch, got his hand in there, turned it around, took off. Jalen Milroe grabbed him and threw him to the ground and set us up for a touchdown to take the lead in the game, and then followed by the Kip 6 that sealed it. So, Eli Bowen, we're getting him back. Brent Venables has been very high on him and his return. He's said he's stepped up and he's put in so much work this offseason to get right, to get back, to get better. A Courtland Guillory, Eli Bowen combo on the field at cornerback would be terrifying. That would be so entertaining to watch for me. They're both so dynamic. They're both so full of juice. Courtland Guillory with all of his moxie and all that fire he's got under him, and then Eli Bowen just good at what he does despite being the little guy. And then with Eli Bowen back, that gives us, I think, 5 dependable corners that we trust, because you'll have Eli Bowen, you'll have Courtland Guillory. We've got Gentry Williams back, and so far he's been pretty healthy. Kendall Dolby's back, not at 100% yet after that leg break last year. But he's looking good. He's playing good. He's getting some good reps in, taking it slow to come back, which is fine. Then we've also got Devon Jordan in there, and he's looked pretty good so far. So that's a luxury, honestly, compared to recent years that we've had where, we got beat deep regularly last year. So having a strong rotation of good corners, I'm really looking forward to seeing that unfold. I will say, though, and I love Eli Bowen to death, but a big concern I have is his size. He's 5'10", and we saw him against Missouri and LSU where his size was the deciding factor, where he lost on touchdowns because of his size and how much bigger the receivers were than he was. So my question is, has he improved his game to the point to where he can minimize those issues and combat his his lesser stature in comparison to the receivers he's going to be going against this year? Because when we go and play LSU at home to close out the year, I don't know if y'all know this, Nick Anderson, who used to be at OU, dude's like 6'4", 6'5". I love Eli Bowen, but I don't want a 5'10" corner on a 6'4" receiver. I want a big dude on him. Ideally, Courtland Guillory, if he's at the point where he's I would expect after 11 games at that point, that he is seasoned enough to where he can hold his own against Nick Anderson. Because that dude's huge. I remember watching him with that big touchdown against West Virginia. Dude's a giant. Had 10 total touchdowns in 2023. So I'd like to see how Eli's going to overcome that bit of a hurdle. And it's not the worst hurdle in the world. He's just a little small, and that's okay. Just assuming that he cleans it up and we don't get beat that way as often. Then another return that we have, Javonnie Gibson, wide receiver that transferred in from Arkansas Pine Bluff this offseason. He emerged as wide receiver 1 throughout spring ball. And then in the next to last practice of spring ball, he broke his leg the exact same way that Kendall Dolby broke his, in the exact same place, the exact same kind of break, just not as bad. So his recovery time, he's been recovering for about 5 months now. And Brent said in his press conference today, really looking forward to him getting his first touch this weekend against Kent State. Really looking forward to it. So we will see Javonnie out on the field with Michael Hawkins Jr. throwing it to him. Can't wait. His stats in 2025, he had 70 receptions, 1,215 yards, 9 touchdowns, average of 17.4 yards per reception. So, now granted, Arkansas Pine Bluff, fine. But we saw John Mateer ball out at Washington State against a basically Mountain West schedule, and he's somehow come in and lit the SEC on fire. I have no doubt that Javonnie Gibson will be able to elevate his play and produce here. We've been cautious with his recovery so far. But it's a good game, I think, to get him back, in that it's Kent State, and no disrespect to Kent State. Just facts are facts. It's Kent State. So looking forward to seeing him play in a lighter game, get his football legs back under him, as Ben Arbuckle put it today, and see how he does, get him in the rhythm, get him going. Can't wait to see him catch up and do well. Yeah, really excited, because he's I think our biggest wide receiver as well. And the coaches have been hyping him up all offseason about how he's really good at making dynamic catches in contested situations. So that's going to be a real problem for defenses if that does in fact hold true. So looking forward to that coming out of Javonnie Gibson and Eli Bowen. Can't wait to get those guys back. Finally, inside the locker room with one Michael Hawkins Jr. I know I was down a little bit last week, or no, I wasn't down. I wasn't as high as I think I actually am on Michael Hawkins. Now that I've had time to think about it a little bit more, process it more, I'm actually very comfortable with this situation with Mike coming in at QB1. Because at the end of the day, he did start 4 games last year, played in 7, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, played in 7 games, had 783 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions against South Carolina, and a fumble. I think a fumble against Texas too, if I'm not mistaken, but that one was on the online. And then he also had 204 rushing yards and a touchdown, and 50 of those yards and that 1 touchdown came against Auburn, at Auburn, mind you. And dude looked good in that game for all that we let him do, because I think he went 10 for 15 that day. We hardly let him throw the ball. But honestly, I think Mike's going to be fine, ultimately. And he's had starting experience when he replaced Jackson Arnold in the Tennessee game when necessity required it, because Jackson Arnold needed a timeout. And John Mateer, with his injury to his thumb, needs a bit of a timeout. So history repeating itself. Mike stepping up to QB1. Really, really excited to see what happens. And I think he's going to do great. Arbuckle said today in his press conference, yeah, Mike has done a really good job of processing the game, learning the game, getting better at making mature, smart decisions, being even cooler under fire than he already was. And remember, Arbuckle came in late December, getting ready for the Armed Forces Bowl, and got to work with Mike for a couple of practices where Mike was the starting quarterback. And he was the leader of the team going into that Armed Forces Bowl against Navy, where we lost 21-20. That one hurt. I was even there. I was in that end zone when we went for 2 to try and win the game there at the end. That one hurt. But it's I think it's going to be good. Because ultimately, and I know we talked about this previously, Michael Hawkins physically is just a lighter version of John Mateer. Like, he's not as built. He's not the same. He's not like a linebacker playing quarterback. He's a quarterback. But he's faster than John. He's got a nice quick release, makes good decisions, got a great arm, really good arm, honestly. And he's had great help this offseason with Ben Arbuckle, John Kuzieski, Kevin Wilson, and John Mateer too, because Mike was very quiet his freshman year by all accounts. And now this year, he is literally besties with John Mateer, with him all the time, asking him questions, learning, saying, okay, this works for you. I might play a little bit different, so how would I do that differently? Or how do I want to do that differently? Asking questions, developing his own game, and seeing what works for John and kind of emulating some of that and becoming a better all-around quarterback. And also, the situation around him is so much better this year than it was last year. All of his receivers are healthy. All his receivers are healthy. The O-line is playing much better, and for the most part is healthy. We lost Troy Everett, unfortunately, for the rest of the season. We've got some other guys that are banged up. I expect we'll have Michael Fasusi back from that ankle sprain in the matchup against Kent State this weekend. If not, I expect he'll be back for Texas. We'll see Michael Fasusi some this Saturday against Kent State. Even if it's just a little bit. We'll see him a little bit. They'll take him out pretty early, and they will hand it over to the guys behind him, and then they will bring him out for Texas next week. So looking forward to that. Then also the whole system is more quarterback friendly than Seth Luttrell and Joe John Finley's nightmare of 2024. And I say that with all disrespect in the world to Seth Luttrell, because that was just terrible. Absolutely terrible. But the system this year with Arbuckle. Arbuckle loves dynamic quarterbacks. They can both throw and run. They make quick decisions and they play with confidence. Mike can do all those things. We've seen him do all those things. So this offense is better tailored to fit Mike and the innate kind of player that he is and the way that he plays the game. So really looking forward to that. Got some extra time and prep thanks to the bye week. Could not have come at a better time. If John was going to get injured this way, could not have come at a better time in the year. Now, having said that, we're going to talk about John just for a quick minute, and then we'll get back to some teammates' opinions on how Mike is doing. But John, for all intents and purposes, still going to be out against Kent State. We know this, for his surgery. Dr. Steven Shin, love that guy, performed the surgery last Wednesday or Thursday. John came out just fine, and he's going to be sitting out for a while, at least 2 weeks. Now, from what I've been told, John was not specifically told by one Dr. Shin that he has to sit out for more than 2 weeks. Now, that doesn't mean he shouldn't. That just means that the doctor didn't tell him, you need to sit out for 2 weeks. Or 3, I guess, more than 2. So does John come back for Texas next Saturday? A week and a half from now? Does John come back for that? Anyways, hop in the comments and let me know what you think about that. Do we think John comes back next weekend? Venables, however, has said John is going to push all limits in recovery. And that's not surprising, knowing the kind of guy that John is, the kind of competitor that John is. Really excited to see him do all of that. Love John. Love his competitive nature. Super excited to see if he comes back. Man, I've said I'm super excited a lot of times already tonight. Well, yeah, that's true. I'm super excited. I can't help it. I'm excited. I love talking about you football, guys. Okay, back to Mike. So, teammate reviews. The consensus, really, coming out of practices early this week. Everyone is really excited. There we go with excited again. Everyone is really optimistic, very high on Mike and his performance. Fabechi Wewu, right guard, quote, all aspects of his game have improved. It feels like we have 2 quarterbacks that we can win with. Okay, I love that. This guy played on the O-line last year, I think started through every game and did a really good job for the situation he was in. If he thinks that we've got solid quarterbacks, given the quarterback he got to play with last year, I'm listening to him. I hear you, Fabechi. Let's go, buddy. Wide receiver Deion Burks. We all know who he is. Mike doesn't play like a sophomore. He's comfortable in the pocket. He trusts the O-line, and he's a dual threat weapon. Yes, Deion. Thank you. Yes. We love it when our weapons trust the quarterback and that they're behind him. Because those are the guys you're throwing the ball to. They better trust you, and you better trust them. Peyton Bowen, so someone that gets to go against Mike in practice, said he's had a huge jump in development. He's really learned from Petit and the staff. Yeah, 100%. I'd be terrified if he hadn't. I'd literally be riding like Paul Revere, screaming, oh, the British are coming, we got to run. If no one was saying that Mike has improved and that the staff has not been a help and that Petit hasn't been a help. Or no, not that they've been a help, that Mike had not learned from them. If people were saying Mike hadn't learned anything, then I'd be scared. Then David Stone, I hope we all know who he is, defensive tackle. His legs are a weapon. He's been locked in like a pro. And this is a guy that's trying to get to Mike every dang play. And Stoney's been a dog so far this year. For those that did not watch his performance against Auburn, dude went nuts. So if this guy, who's an absolute monster on the defensive line, is saying, yeah, this guy's good. This guy's good to play against. Listen to him. Listen to him. Now, Hawkins himself, he's been very humble throughout this whole process. He's just like, you know what? He said, and I quote, mindset, I just go out there and I play ball. I go out there to play. That's it. But he's really given a lot of props to Coach Coos, Coach Buck, and John and Coach Wilson as well, with how they have been helpful in developing his game this offseason and coming into this season. And John is sitting there on the sidelines during practices, and he's talking to Mike. He's helping him think about stuff. He's going like, okay, try this, try that. How's this? Okay, what do you think when you see that look? Okay, maybe think about this. You'll love to see that. We haven't seen that. We saw it with Dylan Gabriel and Jackson Arnold. But last year, we didn't see Jackson do that with Mike a whole lot. We saw him do it a little bit. But Jackson just also wasn't that kind of a guy, really. And that's not shade on Jackson. That's just observations. So, looking forward to Hawkins. Yeah. It's. I think it's safe to say Venables is looking forward to it too, because Venables even said he's a better version of himself in every way. Tremendous athlete, great arm. He's hungry. He's driven. Now, I know that it sounds like we hear Brent say that kind of stuff all the time, and we do. We do. Brent says that kind of stuff all the time about everybody. But that doesn't change that he's saying it, and I think, especially when it comes to quarterback, that he's not going to false advertise on us. Because remember, I don't think he false advertised on us last year. Because he didn't say, oh, Jackson's doing great. He's going great. Michael's doing great. It's going great. He'd say, like, they're looking good, looking better. Never said they're looking great. He's thinking that, from what I'm understanding him to say at least, Venables is thinking Mike is going to look pretty good on Saturday against Kent State. And if we need him further than that, he's going to look good then as well. Bottom line, while John's recovering, it's the Michael Hawkins show. I want to see more out of the run game on Saturday against Kent State simply because we haven't seen tons of it. I want Jaden not to pop off. We know this. I do want to see Mike rip it a little bit. I want to see a good balance in the first parts of the game. But then probably about halfway through the second quarter, maybe even after halftime, honestly, I just want to see it become a rushing attack. Take all of our running backs and just give them reps. Get that O-line and those running backs together with Ben Arbuckle and figure out how to have a good run game. That's what I want. But honestly, when it comes to bigger matchups, if John misses Texas, if he misses at South Carolina, I'm confident in Michael Hawkins. I think we're in good hands. And I think that we're going to do some great things. The locker room and the staff certainly think that he's capable of doing it. And they are in a better position to judge it than I am. So I will give them those flowers there. Well, Sooner Nation, that's going to wrap it up for this edition of the Wacko Weekly Podcast, where we break down all things OU football every Wednesday. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Hit that bell button so you never miss an episode. Plus, you can follow us on all of our socials, Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter X, all at Wacko Sooners for live news updates, game time highlights, and, of course, a few memes to keep it fun like we like it here in Sooner Nation. Go hit those follows and make sure you're always in the Wacko loop. Boomer Sooner.